Well, the music world is mourning the death of an absolute legend who blazed trails across multiple genres for generations. Clive Davis died yesterday. He was 94 years old. The music exec signed iconic acts ranging from Aretha to Aaliyah, Bruce Springsteen to Barry Manilow, and even cult favorites like the Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd. Our colleague Gail King, the co-host of CBS Mornings, took a look back at the legacy of a music man hailed as one of the all-time greats.
Clive Davis was known to many as a man with the golden ear, a career tastemaker who propelled artists across genres to mega stardom. That roster of generation-spanning talent includes icons like Aretha Franklin and Janis Joplin, Barry Manilow and Bruce Springsteen, and that's just scratching the surface. But when we spoke to him about this 4 years ago, Davis said he had been surprised by his success.
I never thought I would have a musical ear. I never thought I'd have a natural gift. No way. I don't read music.
You don't read music?
No.
Do you play an instrument?
No.
No. Okay. How do you know what a hit single sounds like?
I couldn't explain it to you if I tried.
Really?
The answer is, I do know. I do know when I hear a hit song.
Yeah. Davis began his career as a lawyer for Columbia Records, eventually becoming the company's president. He was later forced out and founded Arista Records, where he discovered a 19-year-old singer in a Manhattan nightclub. Her name, Whitney Houston. The pop sensation went on to sell more than 200 million records worldwide.
Part of what made him different is that he took everything really personally.
Kenny G was another Davis discovery in the early 1980s.
At that point, there was no radio stations that were really playing instrumental music. He just felt like somehow it was going to find its way into the mainstream, and he had a big hand in that.
Davis was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2000.
I'm overflowing with gratitude to all of the musicians who have filled my life with their music.
He might not have been a musician himself, but Davis still agreed to sing with us one of his favorite tunes.
And we'll sing it together because I can't sing it.
Like a bridge over troubled water,
I will lay me down
like a bridge over troubled water. The greatest song and the most touching, meaningful, beautiful song that you and I have just
I will lay me
partly
down.
ruined.
Yes, Clive, we were both very bad. High five on that.
All right, joining us this morning is music critic Anthony DeCurtis, who's also co-authored the 2013 best-selling autobiography of Clive Davis, The Soundtrack of My Life, which we learned so much of Clive's life and his thought process and his work ethic. And we listed a few of the big names that Clive signed in his time. I think the best way, Curtis, to think about what Clive Davis has meant to the world is, I think, something Barack Obama said, and I'm paraphrasing here what the former president said, but everybody, at least certainly in this country, but even around the world, has who enjoys music, the music choices that they make have been influenced by this one man, Clive Davis.
That's absolutely true. Clive had ecumenical tastes. He really wanted every genre. He really wanted his company to represent every style of music. So he was very open. He was not limited in terms of, oh, this is the kind of music I personally like. It was like, I think this could work. I think people will enjoy this. I think this artist is great. And then he would proceed. So that really makes for the kind of massive impact that you're describing.
I spoke to a producer who worked with him frequently last night on the Daily Report, and he said he could just close his eyes and say, okay, this background track needs more or less. I mean, he just had, I know we say, yeah, the golden ear, but just such a knack for it. What did you learn about him and his gifts and abilities working with him on his autobiography?
Well, I interviewed him for more than 100 hours for that book. We sat down, twice a week and, for a couple of hours. And he, to this day, I was struck by the clip that you ran earlier where he said, I couldn't explain it to you if I tried, but I know it when I hear it. And that is exactly what is true about Clive. It wasn't somebody who had studied this and, kind of come up with, the rationale for it. He could just hear it. And when he heard it, he was not shy about moving on it. And that led to one success after another.
I'm just
Anthony,
so fascinated by
it is
that.
incredibly fascinating. So, Anthony, one question that I have, and this is something that I've long wondered about Clive, and first of all, what I loved about Clive more than anything is that his championing of artists ranged across every single genre in music, from TLC to Aerosmith to Aretha Franklin to Bruce Springsteen. That is something that I don't think, usually people like, if you're a producer like Jay-Z or, you focus on one genre of music. This man focused on everything. That is, for me, what makes him a genius beyond.
He transcended genre.
He really did. But what did you learn as a journalist, just listening to him for all those hundreds of hours, if you had to guess, or if you had to explain to someone? He couldn't. When Gail interviewed him, you heard him. He couldn't explain how he did it. But what would you say was the thing that made him so prolific and so good at picking hits?
A couple of things, actually, and there are things that I say to my students, when, I'm teaching them about being a journalist, which is focus and listen. That is, Clive was never distracted, as many things as he had going on. If he was listening for a particular artist, he would bear down and make sure that what he was listening to was appropriate for them. And there was no swaying from that. And that kind of degree of focus and commitment and conviction and concentration, like those are the virtues that I picked up from Clive. It was almost, he would tease me sometimes, say like, well, you're a writer, in other words, somebody who was kind of arty and, whatever. But I learned that, the basic virtues are still the most important ones, regarding Clive and how you get a great song to a great artist.
Such a wonderful legacy. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. I keep thinking that, there's been people who have said, for example, that when he found Whitney Houston, when he discovered Whitney Houston, he changed the way that she approached music to make it more pop-oriented, of course, leading to one of the greatest careers in pop music. But there are some people who actually say he shouldn't have done that. And it's sort of like a chicken and an egg thing, right? Like, do you let Whitney be raw and gritty the way she was when he sort of discovered her singing? Or do you say, no, here's how we're going to shape this artist to have the career? I mean, we can talk about this for hours.
The industry was so different then, too.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it rewards authenticity, and you can just take a TikTok video and become a star.
That's true.
That's not how it worked then.
No, it didn't work that way. Anthony, thank you, my friend. It was such a wonderful interview. We appreciate you.
It was really my pleasure. Thank you so much.